Hello and welcome to Leviticus and Hebrews Bible Study Podcast. It's called No Wrong Questions Bible Study. I was like, what is the name? What is the name of the Bible study? Obviously, this is the Alternatively show, but anyway, it is part 11. This is probably the second to the last one. We didn't have one last, the penultimate. We didn't have one last week. We didn't have time to record one. We have blessed you with live streams of the main shows instead, but with John's work schedule, we haven't been able to record on weekends for a couple weekends. So really nice to be back. Liz, would you like to pray for us?
Sure. Lord Jesus, thank you for allowing us to record this and for the freedom to discuss your word openly. I ask that you help all those in other countries who are not able to receive the word as openly to look up for them. I think this is like the National Persecuted Christians Month. And Lord, I just pray that you help us to seek your truth out here, not to put our own interpretation on the Bible instead of yours. And I ask just if there's anything that we say that is wrong, that you don't allow it to lead any people astray. And I pray all this in Jesus' name, amen.
I was briefly triggered by the phrase "your truth" in your prayer, and then I realized the "your" is God.
So that is the one exception.
And I was like,
yeah, if it's anyone else's truth,
I'll allow it.
Why don't we have both light remotes? I have all of the power here. That's irrelevant to the conversation. Yeah, sorry.
For the last couple nights, we have put the pack and play in here, and Gideon has slept in here over in this corner because he's waking up too much in the night to go in with Esau in the actual baby room. But we cannot have him in the big bedroom anymore. He's waking up, as if you don't know this, as babies get older, they become more sensitive to sound around. So if like I get up to pee, he'll wake up and then he'll be laying there babbling for an hour when he doesn't need any. So I was like, he needs to be in here. But last night, I came, he woke up twice in the night, which was totally fine. The second time he woke up, I came in and this ring light up here was on for some reason. And all of the monitors were blinking. Like the little lights on the bottom were blinking.
Ring light.
And I was like, what the heck? So I turned the ring light off and I turned all the monitors off and put him back down. That was at 4. That was at 4 a.m. So when I had woken up with him at midnight, everything was off. Everything was fine. Everything was off. I didn't touch any of it. I just fed him and put him back down. And then 4 a.m. that happened. And then when I came in at 7:30, every single floor light was on. Every single floor light. Those have never, ever turned themselves on.
You do know what's happening, right?
What? He's getting up and turning the lights on.
He's recording podcasts. Check our files. Do we have any videos we didn't add?
Yep. Yeah, Gideon's getting up in the night and recording podcasts was the point of me telling you.
The babbling that he was doing in your room was just practicing, and now he's like, I can monetize that. No, that is kind of sketch. I feel like we should pray over the room.
Yeah. I wasn't super surprised about the ring light. And I thought
that one's weird anyway.
I thought maybe there had been some sort of electrical surge or like a power outage or something that would have explained like the blinking. That's fine.
But the floor lights
all turning on, all 4 of them.
Like separately from the incident with this stuff happening.
Right. And those are on separate circuit.
There's 2 remotes. They're not interchangeable with each other.
Yeah, they're 2 different sets.
Or I guess maybe you could work for one for all 4, but I've tried before and I don't
know.
Let's try it right now. I'm just kidding.
It's
really weird.
God, I pray against any demons in this room.
Yes.
That was so weird though. I was kind of freaked out.
Exorcism shows at me.
Right.
I hope
for
I didn't
real. I was kind of freaked out when I walked out this morning and I could see the light under the door and I was like, what?
Yeah. Is there do you have any sort of monitor where you can go back and record movement over the course of the night to see when things are turning on or whatever?
We haven't moved the monitor over. That we have a monitor for Gideon. It's just in the bedroom, in the big bedroom.
Right.
And we could and should move it in here. And yeah.
And you know for a fact that John wasn't
No, he hadn't come home yet.
Oh, okay.
He hadn't quite come home yet.
Good.
Anyway, so that freaked me out. It did.
Yeah.
And like I'm leaving my baby alone in this room all night with apparently a bunch of possessed equipment.
Tech savvy ghost demon Nephilim.
I mean, I'm assuming
things.
there's something just weird electrical going on.
Yeah, like, has this ever happened where you've come in and been like, "Oh, I thought I turned the lights off. Oh, well, I must have forgotten."
This one ring light
Well,
that's
this one
like
is weird, yeah.
it won't stay on and then it turns itself like
If it's turned itself off and you haven't flicked the switch, I think it can still turn back on.
yeah, I think that's what happened. Like, so I'm never surprised about that
Yeah,
because
with the
it's
floor lights is
old. It's
weird.
the first ring light I ever bought. I should just throw it away. It's not even on right now. It's serving no purpose.
It's actively trying to kill itself live. Yeah, it won't turn on.
Yeah. Well, now you've turned it on.
Oh, I thought I didn't.
No. But you clicked it, so now it'll turn itself on.
I actually clicked it twice, so now it's
darn
it. You know, so there's this thing that you stick in the wall. It's got like little prongs in it. And that's how electricity gets here. So you can always just like pull that out of the wall if you don't.
That's where I'm at, where I think after we record, I'm just going to unplug a bunch of stuff so that when Gideon's sleeping in here.
You can just unplug the power, like the power cord from the wall, right? Yeah.
Anyway. We are planning to try to like not overhaul the room for Gideon because this isn't going to be his room. He's going to be in with Esau, hopefully just in a couple months.
Make it work better for him.
But
in the meantime.
just clean up a little bit. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I was just thinking of it because I'm like looking askance at these floor lights.
I brought up the
that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
Scripture, Bible stuff. Okay. We are Hebrews 12 is where we're at. We'll read, we'll talk. Okay. Verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. The therefore is referring back to the Hebrews 11 passage that just detailed the Hall of Fame of faith, basically.
The Hall of Faith.
Hall of Faith. Verse 3, consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted in your struggle against sin. You have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And have you forgotten the exhortation that addresses you as sons? My son, do not regard lightly the discipline of the Lord, nor be weary when reproved by him. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves and chastises every son whom he receives.
Ooh, I want to point out something here.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will talk about how, so David, after his thing with Bathsheba.
His
thing with Bathsheba. I almost said fling, but she was not really, I mean, there's debate. That's a whole can of worms. But where he kills her husband. Why do I always forget his name? Begins with Uriah. Thank you. And God punishes him or disciplines him by taking the child that he had with Bathsheba as a result of this. And I've heard that given as proof that we'll see that, you know, even though our sins are forgiven by God, there's still temporal punishment that you have to endure for your sin. And what this verse is showing us is that it's not that God is getting a pound of flesh to be like, well, I've stopped you from dying, which is a penalty of sin, but I'm still gonna like make it you hurt for it. It's corrective discipline because we learn through spankings,
right?
Which is
yeah. Also, it's kind of pointing out that like you're getting it's very gently saying like you're getting tired of the discipline, but Jesus shed his blood. And you have yet to resist your sin to the point of shedding your blood. So
like Jesus was sweating blood in the garden.
Yeah.
Because he so badly didn't want to go through with it and resisted that. Like, have you, or were you like, I guess, but I really want to sin actually. So never mind, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. But the Lord disciplines the one he loves and chastises every son whom he receives.
That's also another point, is that the wicked prosper for, seemingly a long time and nothing bad seems to happen to them. And it's like, well, why are they getting away with this? Because God
isn't disciplining them.
God isn't disciplining them. They're not in a relationship with him. They're not receiving his love. So they're not being corrected for their behavior. They're getting from their father free reign to sin and sin and sin.
It's like a marriage where there's no fighting. I always think that's a massive red flag, especially if there used to be fighting and then there's not anymore. It's like you stopped caring enough to fight for it, and fight for each other. And even in like friendships, there's like, do you have a relationship where you can tell somebody where something's gone wrong and
Mhm.
even fight about it? Or have you given up on them? Are you at the point
Mhm.
where you no longer address something with somebody because you know that they're not going to take it? And that's kind of, I think, what you're talking about.
Yeah. Although I would say it depends on how you define fighting. I'm
Yeah.
assuming like, disagreeing, arguing, not screaming and shouting.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But if there has been screaming and shouting, and then
Mhm.
you reach the point where now there's silence and there's no fighting at all. Like
Yeah.
my point is that when you
True.
that
If the pattern abruptly changes with no resolution.
well,
Mhm.
however you slice it,
Mhm.
zero fighting is worse than vicious fighting. It's kind of what I'm going for there. That
Mhm.
there might be a point where you are in so much sin that God is giving you some really, really hard, harsh discipline, but it's still better than if he had given up on you. That's really
Right.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Okay. My metaphor ran into some weeds is what happened. It is for discipline that you have to endure. God is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom his father does not discipline? If you are left without discipline, in which all have participated, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. Besides this, we have had earthly fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them. Shall we not much more be subject to the Father of spirits and live? For they disciplined us for a short time as it seemed best to them, but he disciplines us for our good, that we may share his holiness. For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Therefore, lift your drooping hands and strengthen your weak knees, and make straight paths for your feet, so that what is lame may not be put out of joint, but rather be healed. That's such a fascinating thing.
Mhm.
Um, this verse has always caught me because the idea is you are in a vulnerable place. And if you are if you go the right way, you'll be healed.
Mhm.
But if you don't, if you're not careful, you can get into this twisted, bitter.
Mhm. Like hobbling through your spiritual life.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it way too much.
Mhm.
Strive for peace with everyone and for the holiness without which no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many become defiled, that no one is sexually immoral or unholy like Esau, who sold his birthright for a single meal.
I'm not sure why you're calling your kid out. He's
uh, um, yeah, my hope for my
Mhm.
Esau is that he will take the good things about the character of Esau in
Yeah.
the Bible and also take the lessons from him.
He'll do it right. Esau 2.0 will be better than Esau 1.0.
Yeah, Gideon will make a really good soup, and Esau will be like, I threw it on the ground.
None of your soup, witch.
It's gonna be really dramatic. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it. For you, for you know that afterward, when he desired to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no chance to repent, though he sought it with tears. Um, this idea that sometimes you can make a really horrible decision that seems really trivial in the moment,
Mhm.
and then when it comes time to pay the piper, it's really
Yeah.
it's kind of irreversible.
Well, and I think it's kind of a good metaphor for sin being like the bowl of soup or
Mm,
bowl of beans or whatever it was, that it's a temporary satisfaction, and in the
mhm,
moment it's like, yes, I'm happy to give up my eternal life with God for this moment
mm.
of sin or this life of sin.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to it, you can't be like, well, I know I got the sin, but I also want the inheritance too. I'd like
Mhm.
to go back on that deal.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Verse 18. For you have not come to what may be touched. A blazing fire and darkness and gloom and a tempest and the sound of a trumpet and a voice whose words made the hearers beg that no further messages be spoken to them, for they could not endure the order that was given. If even a beast touches the mountain, it shall be stoned. Okay, so this is a reference
Mhm.
to Mount Sinai when God came down to give the commandments to Israel.
Yes.
Um, and talking about how even if a beast came to the mountain while God was on it, they were supposed to be stoned.
Mhm.
Um, and it made the hearers, like Israel, when they heard the voice of God, begged to not hear anything more
Yeah.
because it was so intense. Um, and I think God knew that that was going to happen, and
Yeah.
then he used it as like a, you're gonna remember this, and then I'm gonna teach you how to walk with me,
Yeah.
so that you're not afraid of this. Indeed, so terrifying was the sight that Moses said, "I tremble with fear." But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to innumerable angels in festal gathering, and to the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, and to Jesus the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkled blood that speaks a better word than the blood of Abel.
'Cause, yeah, like Abel's blood cries out of the ground, and Jesus's blood
Mm.
speaks even more.
Mm.
Mhm.
And this is following Hebrews 11, where it talked about how the blood of the martyrs speaks. Uh,
And Abel's blood spoke condemnation,
mm,
and Jesus's doesn't.
yeah. Now, this line that we're talking about, the heavenly Jerusalem, innumerable angels in festal gathering, into the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven. Are the firstborn who are the firstborn? Are we talk? Are the angels the firstborn, or are the firstborn
Well,
the faithful of the Old Testament?
they've listed the angels already, so I'm gonna guess no for the angels for
Yeah.
being the firstborn. Um, I would have said either it's talking about the Old Testament saints or we're all the firstborn, but that doesn't to me, that doesn't sound quite right. So I would guess Old Testament people.
I think
Mm.
this is the firstborn of the dead, the ones that Jesus let out. So the faithful of the Old Testament that he
Yeah.
set free.
I'm just gonna look up Hebrews 12:23 commentary real quick to see what people think.
Mhm.
Not that I always look up commentary not because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna believe what this commentator says, but sometimes people have
Mm.
context or they know the background or just have a different thought that it hasn't occurred to me. Who are the firstborn? Blah, blah, blah. You can keep talking so that there's not dead air if you want.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
Um, let's see. Verse 25. See that you do not refuse him who is speaking, for if they did not escape when they refused him who warned them on earth, much less will we escape if we reject him who warns from heaven. At that time, his voice shook the earth, but now he has promised, yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heavens. This phrase, yet once more, indicates the removal of things that are shaken, that is, things that have been made, in order that the things that cannot be shaken may remain. Therefore, let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, and thus let us offer to God acceptable worship with reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire.
okay. So, back to verse 23, where it says the assembly of the firstborn. Some translations say the church of the firstborn. This commentary seems to think that the firstborn among the dead is Jesus, and
Mm.
the church of the firstborn is just Jesus's church. So it's
Mm.
referring to everyone. I would want to do a deeper search at another time
Yeah, I don't.
because that doesn't quite seem.
Of all the possible readings, that one
Yeah.
doesn't satisfy me at all, but that's okay. Yeah, this is what it feels like this passage is
Mhm.
heavily full of references that a Jewish
Mhm.
person of this time who was well read in the scripture, well read in the history, would like catch all this,
Mhm.
as far as like what it meant, and it is escaping me.
This is why I wanna find books on, like, Old Testament context and even, like, Newer Testament context just
Mm,
to get that viewpoint of, like, what did they believe and how did they
yeah,
understand this?
yeah.
That'd be fascinating.
Yeah, because I think that there's ways that you can get into trouble going, "Oh, what did the early church think?" As if the early church was incapable of errors, but there's
Mhm,
definitely a place for, like, this was written to an audience, and
mhm.
if you can show me that that audience would have absolutely understood it in a
Yeah.
certain way, then that's helpful.
'Cause also, it's been so long since the early church, we don't even notice our subtle bias toward, like,
Mm.
non-Jewification, essentially. There's a
Yeah.
lot of theology that has come in that the Jewish people would never have considered that, like, it's like 2 different cultures
Mhm.
where you're not seeing the same thing almost at a certain
Well,
point.
like, all of verse 18 through
Mhm.
20, it doesn't say Sinai at all, and it took me a bit to be like, "Oh, this is a
Sinai, yeah.
reference to Sinai."
Mhm. That reminds me of a meme. It's kind of a little bit off topic, but there's like a famous painting of what's her name, Salome or Salome, how do you pronounce her name, holding John the Baptist's head,
Mm.
and someone memeified it and was like, "I don't know who he is, but I'm on her side. Like whatever he did, I'm on her side."
Oh.
And someone was like, "We really don't read the Bible enough to know like if you actually knew the context, you wouldn't be on the side of the woman who just randomly killed the man or was holding up looks like she."
Yeah.
And anyway,
Goodness gracious.
yeah.
Because because she was trying to sleep with her sister's husband or something like
No,
that.
yeah, so the
Oh,
girl wasn't. It was,
her mother was
yeah,
yeah.
and she danced really pleasingly, and her mom was like, "Hey, as your prize, you should ask him for
Yeah.
a severed head."
As a price for seeing such a good little whore, like
Well, she was just dancing. Well, I guess maybe it was I
yeah.
just assumed it was just like, "Yay, I did a little dance." Maybe I'm too innocent for this.
My assumption was it was like a like the equivalent of a pole dance, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Um, I generally think that if a king's gonna be like, "You danced so well, up to half my kingdom,
That's
you
true.
can have."
That was pretty generous of him for doing
for just a little
the little
dance.
swan lake theme. They had that back then, Abby, don't laugh.
Yeah, for sure, Liz. It was definitely a sweet little ballet. Anyway, we can move on. Um,
I'm going home. Goodbye, guys.
oh, okay. Let's see. For our God is a consuming fire. So we reach the end of the chapter. Um, this is interesting. He's making this case that yet once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens. And he's making the author of this is making the case that God's going to shake it once more, and in that once more, it is going to remove everything that can be shaken so
Yes.
that we get an unshakable kingdom. And I would refer that like things that can be shaken back to the first verses of Hebrews 11. Now I feel kind of bad that we skipped a week because
You monster.
now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. For by it the people of old received their commendation. By faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. So maybe this is a bad connection, but the proximity makes me think of it
Mhm.
of like, I think the visible things are the shakeable things.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's not to say that we're all going to become invisible at the end, but
Mhm.
there's some juxtaposition between like your faith is in the things that are unseen, and then I think that the implication here would be, and the things that are unseen are the unshakable things.
Mhm.
Anyway, okay, that is the end of Hebrews 12, unless you had any other comments
No,
there.
we're good.
Okay, we will switch over to Leviticus 24. We are talking about
Lips.
stuff, furnishing and stuff happening inside the temple. Verse 1, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Command the people of Israel to bring you pure oil from beaten olives for the lamp, that a light may be kept burning regularly. Outside the veil of the testimony in the tent of meeting, Aaron shall arrange it from evening to morning before the Lord regularly. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. He shall arrange the lamps on the lampstand of pure gold before the Lord regularly." So I didn't know this about Hanukkah
Mhm.
for a long time, but basically the command was to keep the lamp burning.
Mm.
And Hanukkah is not one of the commanded Jewish holidays. It is a holiday that came up in the intertestamental period to celebrate uh, this moment when the temple was, I think, attacked. So,
Like under
some
siege or
under
something or
siege,
something
yeah.
like that?
Something happened such that they ran out of oil.
And
Um,
they had no means of getting
And they
more.
had no means of getting more, and they thought that the lamp was going to go out, and they were like, "No, because we were commanded to not,
Mhm.
and we've done everything we can, like,
Like,
everything
please
within
don't
our
let us fall into this,
power
yeah.
to obey the law here, and now the temple's gonna be desecrated because the lamp's gonna go out," and it didn't, and it just kept burning for 8 days, and that's why it's a celebration of 8 days. I believe it's 8 days. Please correct me if I'm wrong with that, but, that's just, like, off the top of my head, and I think that that's really cool because we've been talking a bit lately on the main show about demons and about how our theory at this point is that demons became a real problem in the Second Temple period because the Spirit of God was not in the Second Temple. We see the Spirit of God coming into the first tabernacle. We see the Spirit of God coming into Solomon's temple. but we see it leaving Solomon's temple,
Mhm.
but we don't see it coming into the second temple. And but it is cool to see and to have such well-attested history that God did honor that
Mhm.
temple.
I think it's one of those things where people get really, really uncomfortable talking about the Jews in the context of, they assiduously follow God,
Mm,
except they reject God because they don't follow Jesus.
mm,
And I think people want this black and white of like, well, they're still condemned and they're still evil. They're just as bad as Islam. And it's like, yes, but no. Like, yes, in terms of if you have rejected the Son, you have rejected the Father,
mm.
and you're not going to just go to heaven because you followed the law. However, I do think there's an important thing to recognize of they are closer to salvation than someone who doesn't believe in God at all.
There's a lot of wanting to condemn this generation of
Mhm.
Jews to the extent that Jesus condemned the generation that saw every miracle that he did,
Yeah.
watched him, physically watched him fulfill all the prophecies and rejected him anyways. Because that generation, the ones that didn't,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously the ones that did started Christianity and spread it across
Right.
the globe. But the ones that didn't, he condemned them worse than Sodom and Gomorrah.
And part of the reason for that is because their rejection of Jesus and their perpetuation of the lie that Jesus isn't God affects Jews to this day.
Yeah.
You've got Jews following in their footsteps, and there's some degree of which, the leader is far more culpable for leading someone astray.
Mhm.
These people didn't get a chance to witness Jesus
Mm,
themselves. I mean, that doesn't give them an excuse to reject Jesus because we all still have to,
right.
go on faith. But
I don't
yeah.
think that they'll be in heaven. I think that there's difficulty around this. I don't think that they'll be in heaven, but I think
Mhm.
that there's a particular lack of arrogance that we're commanded to in
Mhm.
Romans 11 in particular, that humility that Christians are supposed to have toward the Jews, but for the grace of God.
Yeah.
So go we. And if they had not rejected Jesus, we would not have been grafted in. And
Mhm.
so there's like a level of like kind of thankful you're missing him at the moment. And that's a hard thing to say too.
Mhm.
And that's almost more
That should
feels
humble
more
you way more, yeah.
hateful to say even than
Mhm.
like than more of a haughty, oh, you rejected Jesus, so
Mhm.
I get him. Um
And Paul himself writes, that he would give up his own salvation for the Jews if he could.
yeah.
So if anyone wants an idea of what God thinks about the Jews,
Mm,
I would look no further than that.
um
Mhm.
but yeah, I even in the second temple period where things were so bad between God and the
Mhm.
people of Israel. They were starting to get better, like, they were starting to gather in again. They were starting to come back from exile, but still,
Mhm.
the Spirit had not come into the temple, but God still gave them that miracle of the lamp burning. I think
Mhm.
that there's love there. There's, like, a
Mhm.
grief-stricken love there.
Well, it's the parent with a prodigal child
Mhm.
where they're not like, "Well, screw you." They're like,
Yeah.
I stand there longing for you to come back." And
Yeah.
anyone who's like, "Well, God, why don't you give up on them? Forget them. You have me now. Aren't I not better than them?" You're not gonna really
Yeah,
be in favor with God
it's
for that
it's
attitude.
incorrect. Yeah. I
Mhm.
had another thought. It was
That must have been painful. Mhm.
So there are times where with Catholicism, I go, if you are going to do X, Y, Z, then you're not actually you think you're doing it in service of God, but it is
Mhm.
so antithetical to what he said. You are doing it in service to actual demons.
Mhm.
When you kneel to a statue and pray to it, or when you pray to Mary, that energy, that spiritual whatever is happening in the spiritual realm is not going to God. It is going to
And it's not going to Mary either. It's being intercepted by
right,
something pretending to be Mary.
right. Um, and so I've heard people make the argument, like, how can you say that you know, Catholics aren't worshiping the true God even if they're doing it wrong, but Jews are worshiping the true God but doing it wrong. And so they're like, if they're doing it wrong, therefore it is directed at demons. And I don't think so.
Mhm.
I think that they are keeping the law correctly to God as they understood him. And there was a new revelation
They didn't get
of
the software update.
Jesus. They didn't get the software update. And so they're not, they missed it. Like they can't save themselves by their own works.
The law no longer saves, yeah.
Yeah, the law never saved, but there was like a special, like, I guess this is dispensational. There's a dispensation for
well, because it would be one thing if they accepted Jesus and then they were like, oh, but we're going to add the law on to Jesus and do XYZ. That's more of what the Catholic Church is doing versus like someone who just got half the Bible and is following it fully faithfully, not realizing this other half of the Bible is also important.
You miss something. Yeah, there's something different there. And I think that it's just a different case. I don't think that people act like you have to pick one or the other. Either Jews are going to heaven even though they don't accept Jesus, which is obviously wrong. Or they're just as bad as every demon worshiping whatever out there, or worse somehow. And I'm like, no, we worship the same God.
Yeah.
So they're not.
Yeah, they just worship God incompletely versus extra or other.
Yeah. And extra is always other. Like anytime you add.
And with extra versus incomplete you can always complete. With extra, it becomes something else entirely once you step outside of that. And people don't want to walk back to the non-extra. I'm not Englishing well.
And I do think that there's something to be said for like there is a lot of addition to the law, to the original law, a lot of interpretation, a lot of, okay, in order to keep this, you have to do X, Y, Z. So you do have to be careful because there is significant legalism within Judaism, depending on which sect you're in. But I do also think that there is I would draw a distinction between legalistic Christianity that's like, okay, maybe you're reading everything a little bit harsher than you need to. You're like, I have to be, I have to wear long skirts and I have to wear a head covering and like that kind of legalism versus I'm going to do something that's actually like contrary to the Bible because my religion added it on, like praying to Mary.
Yeah. Well, and also I would put, I know this kind of sounds like I'm contradicting what we've all just said. I would put the Pharisees on level with a lot of the people I've encountered in the Catholic Church. Of the Pharisees did add a bunch of stuff. And they were the religious leaders. This wasn't everyone who was doing this. It was the religious autistic sect, basically. And they did the same thing of like, you can only get to heaven through the things that we have added, or you can't get in at all. And even Jesus called them out. He's like, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven and you block the way for other people too.
Yeah.
That's where it becomes a huge big deal, where you are actively against God.
They created a separate religion to a God of their own making, such that religion denied Jesus.
Yeah.
And that religion didn't recognize Jesus. So yeah, to the extent that they're leading to find people's religion. Yeah. So I think that even within Judaism, there's some dividing lines.
Because the Judaism of the Pharisees is not the same Judaism of David. David followed the law, loved God, understood the spirit of the law, and the Pharisees loved the law as a thing of itself, as a set of rules, and not the God who instituted it. And they didn't follow the God; they followed the law as the God. Anyway,
yeah,
we could split hairs for like 5 more hours.
We could continue to split hairs for 5 more hours. No, these lines are difficult to draw, and ultimately they're God's to draw. But verse 5, you shall take fine flour and bake 12 loaves from it. 2/10 of an ephah shall be in each loaf, and you shall set them in 2 piles, 6 in a pile, on the table of pure gold before the Lord. And you shall put pure frankincense on each pile, that it may go with the bread as a memorial portion, as a food offering to the Lord every Sabbath day. Aaron shall arrange it before the Lord regularly. It is from the people of Israel as a covenant forever, and it shall be for Aaron and his sons, and they shall eat it in a holy place, since it is for him a most holy portion out of the Lord's food offerings, a perpetual due. So 1 loaf for each tribe. We're doing better on time than I thought.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on it.
Time's been passing slow today. I thought I was taking so long on my walk this morning. Then I was like, oh, it's only 11:30.
Maybe that's why I have a headache, because time is doing a weird thing.
Time is being wibbly wobbly. Verse 10. Now an Israelite woman's son, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among Israelite woman, Egyptian father. And this is the first generation, so it's probably a rape situation. Probably. I'm not trying to read too much in.
Oh,
but
yeah, like sort of what we saw in the Civil War of
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, if you saw a mixed kid, it wasn't because there was a happy marriage of a slave
Right.
and
I
a slave
mean,
owner.
she
Yeah.
was a slave.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible they loved each other. But anyway, that's not the point. That is not the point of the story. Verse 10. The son went out among the people of Israel, and the Israelite woman's son and a man of Israel fought in the camp. And the Israelite woman's son blasphemed Yahweh, and cursed. Then they brought him to Moses, and this is a violation of the first commandment: "Shalt not take the Lord's name in vain."
First or second, I forget which one is which.
Thou
But I would
shalt
just
not.
like to point out this is an excellent opportunity to be like, being half Egyptian makes you evil. Yeah, I know that's not actually the point of the chapter. I just
Okay,
wanted to be
the
racist.
second
Yeah.
second commandment: "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain." Um,
Yes.
and this is significantly. I think that Christians have. Sorry, let me finish the story and then comment on it.
Yeah.
Abby, come on.
Good.
Blasphemed the name and cursed. Then they brought him to Moses. His mother's name was Shelemith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan, and they put him in custody till the will of the Lord should be clear to them. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Bring out of the camp the one who cursed, and let all who heard him lay their hands on his head, and let all the congregation stone him. And speak to the people of Israel, saying, Whoever curses his God shall bear his sin. Whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him, the sojourner as well as the native, when he blasphemes the name, shall be put to death." So this is an interesting case.
Mhm.
I think as Christians, we have done such a disservice to the understanding of what swearing is. Like when the Bible talks about taking the Lord's name in vain, it is not talking about saying, "Oh my God."
Because God isn't a name, it's a title. It's not even God's name.
I don't think like I try to avoid saying things like "Oh my
Yeah.
God" or
It's still good
"Damn
to be
you." I think
reverent.
"Damn you" is like one of the worst things you could say to someone
Yeah.
like ever. Um,
If anyway, if anything, that is more taking God's name in vain than saying, "Oh my God," because
right.
you're taking God's role and being like, yeah, if I were God, I'd cast you into hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and it's certainly not about the F word, which is just like you can make your argument for why that's wrong. To speak in a harsher like
More vulgarity.
it's not vulgar way, but fuck is a word for sex. Like it is not swearing, taking the Lord's name in vain. And I think that we've so desperately watered down what is going on here that when you hear a story like this, you're like, "What, they killed this woman's son for
Mhm.
swearing?" Like, no, because he took the holy name of God,
Mhm.
and while he was fighting with somebody,
Mhm.
he blasphemed it. He didn't just say it, he
Like he
blasphemed
used it
it
as a curse.
and cursed.
Yeah.
So what he did was really significant because God is real and that's his name.
And also another thing where like we front load definitions, when we say nowadays, "Oh, he cursed," it means he said, hell or whatever. What they mean there is, "I cast this curse upon you. Like, may
Yeah.
you and your family turn into retarded frog worshippers or something."
Yeah.
Versus just
Yeah.
saying a cuss word.
Yeah. So I think that we sometimes when we a lot of this is what happens, I
Mhm.
think, when you become legalistic is you make all your petty little legalistic rules, and all those petty little rules make you take actual sin less seriously
Yeah. And this is
'cause
also
it
a good
waters it
example
down.
of how language changes and then the new change definition gets backdated to the old word. And this
Mm,
happens a lot. And you don't even catch it if you don't realize it's changed.
right.
But that's why like a lot of words in Shakespearean language, they mean the opposite now.
Mm,
You wouldn't know.
yeah. Verse 17, "Whoever takes a human life shall surely be put to death." It's interesting for this to
Mhm.
follow directly on, you are all going to stone him together. All of you are going to be
Mhm.
involved in capital punishment cases, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
You don't get to just be like, "I heard him curse and so I shanked him."
Yeah, like you all
Yeah.
have to bear that.
Mhm.
Which I think we live in a very individualistic society. And I
Yeah.
think that there's a level of like, you have to bear the pain
Mhm.
of the loss of somebody that you like every individual is responsible for their own actions. But if the culture
Mhm.
has lost somebody, if you have failed to bring up a child well, um, such as something like this, I'm like, you feel it. I think that it puts a weight on the whole society to hold each other up and to hold each other, because
Yeah.
like, I don't want any of you to sin because I don't want to kill you.
Yeah. Our next group bonding project, I don't want it to be pummeling you with stones. But also the distinction is to like acting together to carry out God's will versus
Mm,
taking it upon yourself to act as God to take someone's life.
mm,
Because only God gets to determine if someone gets to live or
yeah,
die. Which is why the people who stone the blasphemer don't have to then turn around and stone each other.
yeah. It's interesting that they have to all lay their hands on his head before stoning him. Like,
Mhm.
that's
Just like
oh
the priest lays his hand on the head of the lamb.
yeah, yeah. What is interesting here is what's being called for is
Mhm.
not what was happening in Paul's time, where a mob would
Yes.
form and drag somebody out and
Mhm.
stone them in the heat of the moment.
They're
That
not
was not what God commanded.
they weren't seeking God's will. They were doing it because they were upset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like instead of as a parent disciplining when your child is defiant and disciplining because you feel disrespected because
Mm,
they, you know, had a weird look on their face or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, verse 18, whoever takes an animal's life shall make it good life for life. If anyone injures his neighbor as he has done it, shall be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Whatever injury he has given a person shall be given to him. Whoever kills an animal shall make it good, and whoever kills a person shall be put to death. So they're having to make restitution for the animal to the animal's owner.
Yeah. And this isn't referencing slaughtering your own animal for food. It's
Yeah,
killing someone else's or gratuitously. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like animal cruelty, basically.
Mhm.
Or killing someone
Yeah.
else's animal. To verse 22, you shall have the same rule for the sojourner and for the native, for I am the Lord your God. This is okay.
Yeah. I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Here, let me finish.
Mhm.
So Moses spoke to the people of Israel, and they brought out of the camp the one who had cursed and stoned him with stones. Thus the people of Israel did as the Lord commanded Moses. Okay. So one of the reasons that there's this is the second repetition in this chapter of same rule for the sojourner and the native is because this young man's father was an Egyptian.
Mhm.
And so they're like, okay, it, it, d- d- do we have to hold him to the same laws as Israel, or
Mhm.
or when somebody isn't quite one of us, do we hold them to a lesser standard?
Mhm.
And it is so fascinating that people who are pro mass immigration, pro illegal immigration, and pro specifically holding those people who have come in illegally to a lower standard of justice
Mhm.
try to use verses from Leviticus, from Deuteronomy, from Exodus about welcoming the sojourner, and like you should welcome the sojourner because you were sojourners in Egypt. You should treat them well because you were in that position once. They like to quote that and
Mhm.
fail to recognize that this was really strictly kept, that the same law applied to the sojourner and the native. So if someone was welcome to
Mhm.
come and sojourn with Israel, but they had to follow the whole law.
Essentially, the corollary here is because they're not a nation in the concept that we are a nation.
Mm.
Following the law, being like essentially inducted into the law, is the same as citizenship. If they wanted to
Mm.
be a sojourner, they didn't just get to hang out
Mhm.
and be illegal aliens along the way. They had to
Yeah.
integrate and follow the laws of the society.
Well, and it's interesting because the laws of
Mhm.
the society aren't just like legal, like
Yeah, they're also moral laws or like
there's
spiritual. Sorry.
yes, yeah. There's we've talked about this a bunch while we've been going through Leviticus. There's like you shouldn't murder and these sorts of
Mhm.
like laws that every society has, and then there are like medical type laws, like this is how you deal with mold in your house.
Mhm. Don't eat shrimp.
Um, but then there's a lot of them that are they're religious laws
Mhm.
that anyone coming in, if they're keeping the law, they are fully assimilating. They are
Mhm.
the keeping the law is fully integrating into another culture.
They're giving up their citizenship to the world.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
they're celebrating all the holidays that Israel is celebrating. They are worshiping the same God that Israel is worshiping. They're making their sacrifices. They're confessing their sins in the same way. Like so eh, they're I don't see any laws that say, "Oh, you're not allowed to like still eat the food of your old culture," or you're not allowed to maybe celebrate some sort of day that's
Well, they'd
significant.
have to eat kosher. They wouldn't be able to eat, like, unclean food if
Well,
that's their
yes,
old
yeah,
culture, yeah.
they wouldn't be able to eat like within certain parameters.
Mhm.
They'd be able to retain some of their. if
Mhm.
they wanted to, some of their heritage or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but your actions are what creates your culture. Like, so much of
Mhm.
what is physical, like, makes for what is true. And so what if you are keeping all of these religious practices, all of these holidays, all of this stuff with the people, you are much more like, you are as much a part of that people as anybody. There's just
Mhm.
nothing to divide you anymore. As opposed to in the United States, if somebody comes, and I'm not saying this is not a political take, that, you come to the United States, you should be required to celebrate Christmas and all this stuff,
It's
but
mandatory.
there's, um, there's so much of people who come in who have no intention of being American. And it feels very much like an invasion as opposed to
Mhm.
actually wanting to be part of our country
Because
where
they oh, sorry, yeah.
yeah, come in, never stop speaking their language, never stop, um, you never integrate, just create their own little pockets of, whatever
Mhm.
country it is, and it's just a takeover.
And they come in with hatred. Not everyone,
Mhm.
but a lot of people I've seen nowadays come
Yeah.
in with hatred for American customs.
Yeah.
If I were to go to another culture, I wouldn't be mad at them for not being American. I would be like, "How do I be more Italian? What is this thing where they have croissants every morning?" I'll get it. I don't know if that's Italian or not. But, like, we see people who come in and they wanna bring their country over, and it's like, "But your country's back there. If you wanted to live in your country, you could
You
have
should
just
have
lived in
just
your
lived in your
country.
country.
It
Yeah.
didn't go away."
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's pretty explicit here,
Mhm.
um, how that's supposed to work. Okay, 47 I think we can do one more.
Oh, yeah.
Leviticus 25, the Sabbath year. I've always found this very fascinating,
Mhm.
and it's a law that Israel basically didn't keep, like,
Yeah.
almost ever. I think they did a very tiny bit,
Mhm.
um,
And it's
especially, like, in the reign of David,
like
but
a whole year basically off. Yes,
right.
please?
Yeah, let's read it. The Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land that I give you, the land shall keep a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years you shall sow your field, and for 6 years you shall prune your vineyard and gather in its fruits. But in the seventh year there shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest for the land, a Sabbath to the Lord. You shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. You shall not reap what grows of itself in your harvest or gather the grapes of your undressed vine." Like, some stuff is going to grow and you're not even allowed to pick it.
Yeah.
"It shall be a year of solemn rest for the land. The Sabbath of the land shall provide food for you, for yourself, and for your male and female slaves, and for your hired worker and the sojourner who lives with you, and for your cattle, and for the wild animals that are in your land. All its yield shall be for food." So, let's see, the Sabbath of the land shall provide food for you. So I think my understanding here,
Mhm.
I could be wrong, and maybe there'll be more on it later. You're not supposed to sow your field, you're not supposed to prune your field, and you're not supposed to reap your field.
Mhm.
But you can eat from anything that grows, um,
So
wild in
so
the land.
yeah, you're, like, foraging that year or
Yeah.
it's almost like the manna all over again.
Yeah, yeah. It's very much like a trust God,
Mhm.
and I do wonder if the result of this health-wise would be 1 year out of every 7 where you eat a lot of protein because you would be doing a lot more hunting, you would be a lot more eating from your herd, you
Yeah,
would
'cause
have a lot less vegetables, you'd have a lot less. I wonder if it's almost like a gut reset, but there's
that and also, I wonder if on the 6th year of reaping and sowing, people would have had a bumper crop
mm,
that they could have put away just
mhm.
in the same way that when they
Yeah.
collected manna for the
Yeah.
Sabbath. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they were canning back then, but I
They're
know that
dry
there
goods,
was
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
they can there's things you can preserve
Yeah,
for sure.
there's fermentation. I think there wasn't canning, but I think there is, like, old evidence of a form of, like, clay jars with, like, a
Mm,
way that they sealed the lids and buried them in clay that
mm.
I don't know how old that is, but
This is an interesting, juxtaposition
Mhm.
to kind of what Joseph foresaw for Pharaoh of Egypt saying, "Hey, like, we're gonna have, so what, 7 good years,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna have 7 bad years, and you have to put aside during the 7 good years." And I think this is the kind of the same thing as, like, you're gonna have to put aside, but also the land's gonna
Mhm.
produce for you. Um
And also, like, when God gives you a bounty, don't be greedy and consume it twice as fast. Be like, "Oh,
Ooh.
this bounty is for later."
Yeah, yeah,
Put this
I should
away.
save it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these laws, like this in particular, and some of them that weren't kept very well or very consistently. I don't think we have yet to see what would actually happen in a culture that
Mhm.
kept this, and I'm so fascinated to see it in the kingdom because, we will.
Yeah.
We will see what, because I do think that there's a
Mhm.
certain extent to which Jesus fulfilled the law, and there's a certain extent to which we're gonna get to see things go the way God said that they should go.
Yes, and be like, "Oh, yeah, he's right about that too." Well, because like, stuff needs to go fallow. We can
Mhm.
deplete the soil of nutrients so that, like, the vegetables that we have nowadays do not have all, like, the magnesium and stuff that we need, that we were getting from them. It's just not in the soil to put in the plants. And also, like, in Maine, the blueberry fields, they burn them every 2 years,
Yeah.
and then they just sit burned for a year,
A
and
lot of
then they yeah.
modern farming practices
Mhm.
have recognized the value of this, but they just rotate their crops,
Yeah.
so that, like, not everything is lying fallow the same year.
Yeah.
But it would be so interesting to see what would happen if everything
Mhm.
laid fallow, and in what parts of science that we don't even know yet of
Mhm.
how land, 'cause God is almost talking about this land as if it's like one organism that needs to rest,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, "Oh, I'm gonna let that field rest, but the field next to
Yes.
it's gonna be planted." But
Oh,
they're like, you've
yeah.
got your groundwater, you've got your nutrients mixing, and I think that things are more connected.
Also, I think have you ever been like, "Well, gee, I wish I could just take a year off?"
Yeah.
I think, like, the idea of every 7 years, you just I mean, obviously, there's still some work to be
Yeah.
done, but all of a sudden, you have this massive load taken off of you for a whole year. Every 7 years, I think that we're just so used to chronic
Yeah.
burnout that we don't realize we are not wired for
Yeah,
that.
you don't have to plant your fields at all.
Mhm.
And yeah, and you get to eat extra meat and replenish
You get
your
to
body, and
enjoy being alive for a year.
yeah. It's not that you wouldn't work at all, because 'cause you'd still have
Mhm.
to keep your herds,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Be a lighter load.
the ground itself has to, yeah.
Mhm.
You should, because
Mhm.
as far as I know,
Uh-huh.
correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no biblical account of this year being kept.
Yeah, I couldn't name one off the top of my head.
I think that
If
there's,
Mhm.
like, definitely the implication that, like, it was kept during some of the periods of time that we know about.
Yeah.
Like, under David, I imagine it was
But
kept.
there's no account of like, and this was
This
like,
is how the year went.
and this during the Sabbath year,
Yeah.
they, did XYZ. Yeah, we don't really see that. I don't think.
Um, I think it's a well-kept secret. I think it was only done a few times.
Yeah.
And
Probably initially at first, the first few
the
years.
first few years, and then, the period of the judges happened,
Mhm.
and then, and then there were a couple good kings that I think would have kept him, but
Mhm.
other than that, I don't think we see, we don't have it's like we don't have the data. I don't think we have like 100 years of keeping this to see what would happen with the land.
Yeah.
Okay, verse 8. You shall count 7 weeks of years. So 7 sevens, 7 times 7 years, so that the time of the 7 weeks of years shall give you 49 years. Then you shall sound the loud trumpet. I don't know why I felt the need to explain it when the verse was going to explain it. The weeks of years is always, it trips me up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Then you shall sound the loud trumpet on the 10th day of the 7th month, on the day of atonement. You shall sound the trumpet throughout all your land, and you shall consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, when each of you shall return to his property, and each of you shall return to his clan. That 50th year shall be a jubilee for you. In it you shall neither sow nor reap what grows of itself, nor gather the grapes from the undressed vines, for it is a jubilee. It shall be holy to you. You shall eat the produce. You may eat the produce of the field, or countryside. Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, yeah, you can eat. We already talked about that.
Berries.
We already talked about that. So this is like every 50 is like an extra.
Yeah, because it's 2 years in a row at that point, I think.
Oh,
Because you
is
would have
it?
just finished the end of the 49th year, which would have been a 7th year,
Oh.
and then the 50th year, bonus
Oh,
year.
okay. In this year of Jubilee, each of you shall return to his property, and if you make a sale to your neighbor or buy from your neighbor, you shall not wrong one another. You shall pay your neighbor according to the number of years after the Jubilee, and he shall sell you to you according to the number of years of crops. So basically, you can never actually, this is so fascinating. Like,
Mhm.
each family when they went into the land, got a specific inheritance. It was very specific. And they could buy and sell it, but they could really only rent it
Yeah, it's like a lease.
up until a jubilee and then get it back, which I don't think this was practiced either.
Mhm. And this was to ensure that even if you fell on hard times and had to sell your land,
Mhm.
you didn't lose your inheritance. It did come back eventually.
Yeah, you didn't screw your family forever.
Yeah.
And it ensured that a family like the Rothschilds, not that they ever
Roth's
lived in
children. Mhm.
Israel, the Rothschild, a family couldn't amass wealth over the course of hundreds of years
Yeah.
and eventually own the whole of Israel.
There
That's
wasn't a BlackRock in Israel.
yeah, yeah. God put something in place to make sure that couldn't happen, which is really
Mhm.
fascinating.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. This is really beautiful sets of laws, and it's sad that we haven't really gotten to see like how it works
Yeah.
for this to play out. Um, shall sell to you according to the number of years for crops. If the years are many, you shall increase the price, and if the years are few, you shall reduce the price, for it is the number of the crops that he is selling to you. You shall not wrong one another, but you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. Therefore, you shall that juxtaposition of like
Mhm.
wronging one another is the opposite of fearing God.
Yes. Also, oh shoot, what was I gonna say? As soon as I said also, my brain was like deleting file. Oh, not only would it be nice to really know what it would be like, it's maddening to be like the reason it is the way it is today, so dysfunctional and stuff, is because people didn't love the Lord.
Mm,
And
yeah, like he gave
yeah.
them this blueprint, and he just wouldn't have it.
Mhm.
Okay. Therefore, you shall do my statutes and keep my rules and perform them, and then you will dwell in the land securely. The land will yield its fruit, and you will eat your fill and dwell in it securely. And if you say, what shall we eat in the 7th year, if we may not sow or gather in our crop? I will command my blessing
Mm.
on you in the 6th year, so that it will produce a crop sufficient for 3 years.
Yeah, like you're set.
Yeah. When you sow in the 8th year, you will be eating some of the old crop. You shall eat the old until the 9th year when its crop arrives. Whew. The land shall not, but like that requires such a trust in God.
Yeah. That's the hard part of
Yeah.
like, I would rather go through no, I'm voicing someone else. Would rather go through every single year working hard so that I can control and make sure that I am providing for
Mm,
myself than be like, I'm gonna not work and trust God to provide.
yeah. And they that the fun part about this is that they would have gotten to see
Mhm.
that massive crop come in before they had to take the year off.
Yeah.
They would have known they had
They would
it.
have known. Yeah, they would have known they were set. And also, I think you see kind of being addressed in the New Testament, the reverse of this, of someone
Mhm.
who's like, "Yeah, I'll take the year off and all the years off. I'll just not work." So it's like that
Yeah.
you're not lazy for taking a break,
Mhm.
but there is like an understood time to take a break that God lays out of what's healthy
Mm.
for you. And if it were healthier to do 2 years, he would do 2 years. And if it were healthier to do 6 months, he'd do 6 months. So we know a year is
Which is why I think
healthy.
it's interesting that we have created a 5-day work week and 2 days off,
Yeah.
because you know how it's been a while since I've been in the workforce, but when I was, like, you slow down to such a crawl. Like, if you only had 1 day off, your energy kind of
Mhm.
you get to rest, but your energy stays up, but, like, with that 2nd day, you slow down to such a crawl by the Sunday evening that it's so hard to, like, get yourself up and going again on Monday, and I wonder if that's just
Yeah, people well, it's momentum, like objects in motion.
mm,
My schedule at the bank is such that I my days off are staggered, so I don't
mm,
have
mm,
2 full days off in a row. It's
mhm,
usually like a half day off and then a full day off.
mm.
And I do feel like this impetus of like, "Oh, okay, I have this set amount of time. I'm gonna use it for rest. Rest aggressively now."
Yeah. Well, when you only have 1 day to rest, you hopefully you rest as opposed to like, "Oh." Anyway, I could go
Yeah.
on about this, but I won't. Verse 23, "The land shall not be sold in perpetuity, for the land is mine." What a line.
Yeah.
"For you are strangers and sojourners with me. And in all the country you possess, you shall allow a redemption of the land. If your brother becomes poor and sells part of his property, then his nearest redeemer shall come and redeem what his brother has sold. If a man has no one to redeem it, and then himself becomes prosperous and finds sufficient means to redeem it, let him calculate the years since he sold it and pay back the balance to the man to whom he sold it, and then return to his property. But if he does not have sufficient means to recover it, then what he sold shall remain in the hand of the buyer until the year of Jubilee. In the Jubilee it shall be released, and he shall dwell in he shall return to his property. So there's an even better layer. So if you sold your land, if you fell on hard times and you sold your land, and then you get money again to buy it back, they cannot deny you.
Yeah.
That's the point of this.
Also, when you sell your land, you're not just renting it, you're subletting it because all the land is actually God's, which he has loaned to you in the first place.
Verse 29, if a man sells a dwelling house in a walled city, he may redeem it within a year of its sale. For a full year, he shall have the right of redemption.
Because the city is not part of like people's inheritance.
Yeah. So they're giving a little room for like you really hit a rough spot. You have a chance to redeem it. If it is not redeemed within a full year, then the house in the walled city shall belong in perpetuity to the buyer throughout his generations. It shall not be released in the Jubilee. But the houses of the villages that have no wall around them shall be classified with the fields of the land. They may be redeemed, and they shall be released in the Jubilee.
I just know there's a part in the Torah that's like, what if a wall is built around the land after it was sold? Is it still released in the Jubilee?
Probably. Yeah. You mean the Talmud?
Yeah.
Not Torah. As for the cities, those are so confusing. As for the cities of the Levites may redeem at any time the houses in the cities they possess because they don't have fields.
Yeah.
Their inheritance is the cities. And if one of the Levites exercises his right of redemption, then the house that was sold in a city they possess shall be released in the Jubilee. For the houses in the cities of the Levites are their possession among the people of Israel, but the fields of pasture land belonging to their cities may not be sold, for that is their possession forever. Verse 35, if your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, you shall support him as though he were a stranger and a sojourner, and he shall live with you. Take no interest from him or profit, but fear your God, that your brother may live beside you. You shall not lend him your money at interest, nor give him your food for profit. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. So you can lend, but you can't extract.
Yeah, like you would get your money back, but you wouldn't be making money off of giving your money.
Yeah. And at this point in society, interest seems to like barely keep up with inflation, and interest is a hedge against inflation. But that I don't think that was.
Yeah.
In the context of this, interest was like making a profit off of somebody's.
They didn't have inflation, I don't think.
Yeah. Like, oh, you fell on hard times, I'm going to make a profit off of you.
Yeah.
That's really shitty.
And that's where we get like more predatory loans of like, oh, you don't have good credit because you're poor. Can I interest you in a 40% interest rate on a loan that you're not going to be able to pay back anyway?
Yeah. Goodness gracious. Terrible. That's just slavery at that point. It's a type of slavery. It's not full slavery, but
it's like when your bank account charges you money for not having enough balance in it. And it's like, I'm sorry, am I paying the poor fee now? I'd really pay the poor fee.
Gross. Yeah. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If your brother, this is interesting. Purpose number 1, to give you the land of Canaan. And purpose number 2, to be your God. I think that there's so much dismissal of, in modern Christianity, so much dismissal of the land of Israel. And God makes it so clear that the land is significant to him.
Like he promised the land and
yeah. And he's coming back to the land.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what's special about.
Well, because I think he understands that humans are tied to the land. We're not spiritual. We have spirits, but we're not like ethereal beings that are just like, ooh, off in the plane. Like we are in the material world, rooted to the material world, meant to live even before sin. Material world was our habitat.
Verse 39, if your brother becomes poor beside you and sells himself to you, you shall not make him serve as a slave. He shall be with you as a hired worker and as a sojourner. He shall serve with you until the year of Jubilee. Then he shall go out from you, he and his children with him, and go back to his own clan and return to the possession of his father. So there's this redefinition of what slavery means or what bondservant means. You're never going to oppress somebody like you were oppressed in Israel and own them. But you can keep a bondservant if they willingly sell themselves to you.
It's like your live-in handyman, sort of.
Yeah. But Jubilee, they go free. Yeah. For they are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as slaves. You shall not rule over him ruthlessly, but shall fear your God. And for your male and female slaves, whom you may have, you may buy male and female slaves from among the nations that are around you.
Side note real quick, because I know people are going to be like, see, the Bible supports slaves. But guess what? When you are buying a slave from a nation around you, you are freeing them from the bondages of their sin and introducing them to a much freer, safer society where they will become free.
Yeah. That's a good point. As opposed to American chattel slavery, where
Yes.
They told themselves that they were rescuing them out of blah, blah,
Right.
blah, but then they were badly treating them and never setting them free.
Yeah.
And taking them for well,
They were kidnapped from their homes for the purpose of being
yeah.
versus you yeah. It's a tricky one. I'm not advocating
There
for
is a
slavery.
difference. Yeah, I think that there's a slim dividing line between buying
Mhm.
this says buy male and female slaves from among the nations that are around you, which implies that I was gonna say they wouldn't have been taken against it. Well, we
However,
don't have to litigate it, but
yeah, the Bible does make it clear if you take someone, a free person, to bind them into slavery, that is,
yeah.
I believe, a capital offense.
Yes, you cannot do that.
Mhm.
And that's what the slave trade was doing. It was taking free people from Africa and then people
Mhm.
were buying them. But another form of slavery you see in scripture and a lot in history is basically prisoners of war,
Yeah, yeah. Like,
which also happens.
we won fair and square, so you're our slaves. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's more discussion to be had about. I think
That's
Wes
on the
Huff
show.
has done a good job talking about
Yeah.
the slavery issue. There are people who have a better knowledge of it than me. I'm not trying to gloss over it because
Mhm.
I do know it's important topic, but I also think we can get really lost in it right now.
I also feel like people, this will be my last thing I say, people get really, really upset about slavery, like taking someone's life and their will and stuff.
Mm.
And then they work for McDonald's for $7.25 an hour. Are you sure that that's not the same thing? Like,
It's not the same thing as chattel slavery, but it's pretty similar to this.
In terms of like, yeah, where you're trapped in like, yeah, I don't know. I could flesh out the thought more, but
I've seen that thought fleshed out in a way that is an argument for communism, which I obviously don't agree with, and I know that you don't.
I'm just saying people act like it's a completely alien thing
Mm.
to what's happening in society. We have slavery, just it takes a different form, so to speak. I mean, we actually have actual slavery, but not in America. We outsourced it to Malaysia and such.
But yeah, our a lot of our products are made by slavery. Anyway,
yeah,
yeah.
The children made your phone very well.
Okay. You may also buy from among the strangers who sojourn with you and their clans that are with you who have been born in your land, and they may be your property. You may bequeath them to your sons after you to inherit as a possession forever. You may make slaves of them, but over your brothers, the people of Israel, you shall not rule one over another ruthlessly. And I think that in the New Testament, when this dividing line is taken down between Israel and the Gentiles, that this is no longer something that would be allowed anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like you said, you would be rescuing them from the demon worship and all that and bringing them into the freedom of worshiping God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very tough subject, but God is good. I think when you wrestle with a subject like that, you start with God is good, and you wrestle with it from there.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't have peace about it, pray about that God will show you more about it, give you peace about it, and He will.
And if you find yourself offended by God's morality and consider yourself to be a better judge of morality than Him, pray about that too.
Pray about that too. Yeah. At the end of the day. Okay. Last few verses. Verse 47. If a stranger or sojourner with you becomes rich, and your brother beside him becomes poor and sells himself to the stranger or sojourner with you, or to a member of the stranger's clan, then after he is sold, he may be redeemed. One of his brothers may redeem him, or his uncle or his cousin may redeem him, or a close relative from his clan may redeem him. Or if he grows rich, he may redeem himself. He shall calculate with his buyer from the year when he sold himself to him until the year of Jubilee. So they're not even selling themselves, they're just renting themselves until the year of Jubilee. And the price of his sale shall vary with the number of years. They're
taking out loans on themselves as collateral.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah. Not really, but yeah. Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, the existence of the Jubilee year softens everything in the economy.
Unless you sold yourself before 50, like at the very end of the last Jubilee year, you're stuck for 50 years.
Yeah.
Time it well.
You would be worth the maximum amount at that point, that moment. Okay, the time he was with his owner shall be rated as the time of a hired worker. If there are still many years left, he shall pay proportionately for his redemption some of his sale price. If there remain but a few years until the year of Jubilee, he shall calculate and pay for his redemption in proportion to his years of service. He shall treat him as a worker hired year by year. He shall not. So basically, it's a contract.
Yeah. Well, and
It's a 50-year contract, it's a 25-year contract
I was gonna
for
I was gonna say, like, there's not a lot of difference if you sign, like, a contract where you're gonna work for this year of work. You've essentially rented yourself out to a slave master for a year,
Mm,
and they're treating you well, and
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. It's I think it's most similar to the military.
Yeah, I was thinking military or, like, I don't know. I know that there's some jobs where you can't just leave in the middle of a
Yeah,
contract without issues, but
yeah.
mhm,
He shall not rule ruthlessly over him in your sight, and if he is not redeemed by these means, then he and his children with him shall be released in the year of Jubilee. For it is to me that the people of Israel are servants. They are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
oh, that's the other thing. People bristle at slavery, and the world operates off of slavery too. You're either a slave to sin or you're a slave to God. No one actually is
Yeah.
not a slave.
Yeah. Every cult it's
Mhm,
just a fact. Every culture throughout all of time has relied on slavery. And we like to think that we
mhm,
don't as Americans because we hide it in other countries and buy all our
mhm.
products from them. But everything is running off of slavery and that.
We really compensate for buying the phones and clothes made by child slaves by getting really offended by something that happened 400 years ago to people who aren't alive today. Also,
True.
um, do you wanna know the country with the longest unbroken in recorded, like, slave history is Korea, had 1,500 years of slavery
Wow.
unbroken.
Wow. Well, with that, God, thank you for this time together. I pray that you would work in people's hearts. If there are things that they're wrestling with, I pray that they would go to you with those things, especially the slavery issue. If that's niggling with people, I use that word niggling because it's completely fine. But then,
Yeah,
especially in the context of slavery, it does not sound good.
slavery niggles.
Um, but yes, I pray that if anyone's having a hard time with this, that they would just give it to you and that you would bring them the answers. In your name, amen. Love you guys. Good night.